In this video, I want to help you plan and organise your week efficiently and effectively so that when you get to the end of the week, you can feel accomplished knowing that you've got that bit closer towards your goals. You feel good knowing that you spent your week intentionally and that you actually got things done that you wanted to do. Weeks like this don't happen by accident, which is why I'm going to share with you the things that personally have helped me plan my weeks more intentionally, find more joy in the time that I have, and maintain progress and momentum towards my goals. The first thing you need to do before you start planning your week is define your vision. Attempting to plan your week with no clarity around what you want to achieve, who you want to spend time with, what kind of lifestyle you'd like, is a bit like going on a journey and not knowing where the end destination is. You'll get somewhere eventually, but it will take you a very long time and there's no guarantee that you'll like where you end up. Have a think about who you want to be. What do you want for your life? How do you want to feel? Do you want to be the girl who has workout dates followed by breakfast, or do you want to be the girl who's always going on new adventures and traveling to see new places? Do you want to be a voracious learner and reader, the girl who's always buried in a book or always learning new things? Or do you want to be the boss bitch that's always got her shit together, is high performing, and is productivity times 1000? Whoever it is that you want to be, you need to know who that person is before you can start planning to be her or him. This is an idea I got from Lavender, whose channel I will link below for you. Grab a notebook or a piece of paper and divide it in two. On one side, you want to draw a little doodle of current you, or you could just put a bubble with you in the middle. And then you want to populate around it all of the actions, the events, the habits, the feelings that make up current you, anything that you can identify with current you. Then on the other page, you want to populate yourself again, but this time it's going to be future you. Think about what you'll have achieved, how will you feel, what will you be doing. Looking at current you versus future you can see where the gap is and where you need to bridge. This will then help you to start defining your goals and what things you might want to achieve in order to move and make progress towards the future you. The next thing you want to do is get clear on your essential tasks or your non-negotiables. Now this is something that I got from Michelle B, and since I've implemented it, I found so much more peace and calmness in my weeks since I've been planning these in. These non-negotiables or essential tasks are things that you must do each week in order to maintain your center of gravity, if you like, your balance point. What things, if you don't do them every single week, start to make you feel stressed, overwhelmed, behind pace, and just completely erratic. For me, for example, every Sunday there are a certain amount of cleaning tasks that I like to do so that my house is clean and tidy for the week ahead. There's just something about waking up to a messy house and things just not being where you expect them to be that makes me feel really stressed and a bit overwhelmed. So for me, some of my non-negotiables are certain cleaning tasks on a Sunday. My other non-negotiables are also to make sure that I get my 3 Booty by Brett workouts in a week so I can maintain my strength training, and generally it just maintains my activity levels, otherwise I'll be sitting on my bum at my desk job all day. Think about for you what those non-negotiables might be and write them down in a list. Once you've got these down, you can make sure that every time you do your weekly planning routine that you plan in your non-negotiables so that they always get done. The next list you're going to create for yourself is your self-care for sanity list. You should be incorporating self-care activities into your week every single week to make sure that you avoid burnout and maintain a balance. Planning in weekly self-care is going to help you maintain longevity and your progress towards your goals. It's going to help you stay motivated, and it's just going to keep filling up your cup every time it maybe dips below like your normal level, so that every time you do self-care, you top yourself back up and you're ready to go again. You're not depriving yourself of the you things that you enjoy. It is not normal to be 100% productive all the time, so to expect yourself to do so is just a recipe for disaster. Make sure you incorporate some self-care activity. Remember, the rest is just as important as the work. Have a think about what brings you back to neutral. What is it that refills your cup and makes you feel more energized again? Amanda Porter, a psychiatric nurse from Ohio, says there's definitely a right and wrong way to go about self-care. If something makes you feel good now, but it's going to make you feel bad later, then it's not self-care. Just to explain a little bit about what she actually means by that, if you might think sitting and binge watching Netflix is self-care for you, sure, that might make you feel great in the moment, but if afterwards you feel sluggish and lethargic and then you feel guilty because you've sat on your bum and you've literally not moved all day, that's not self-care because you actually feel bad after doing the activity. Self-care are things that actually fill up your cup and make you feel good after you've done them. Sometimes they might actually take a bit of motivation to start doing. For example, exercise is something that makes me feel good and is classed as self-care. Sometimes I'm not in the mood, but I know afterwards I always feel better for doing it, so it is a self-care activity. Next, you're going to consider your 12-week goals. Now, if you're not somebody who plans your goals in 12-week chunks, I highly, highly recommend it. 12 weeks is like the perfect time. It's long enough that you can actually get stuff done, but it's not so long that you lose interest and focus. In this approach, you'll focus on one main goal and then 2 smaller goals. Your one main goal is your main point of focus, and your 2 smaller ones are things that you can kind of achieve alongside your first main goal, but the 2 smaller goals aren't to detract from the main one. So they're just things that you probably don't need to put as much effort in, or the things that you can do kind of easily around the side of focusing on that one main goal. I used to be the type of person who used to try and do all of the things all of the time, and I found that I didn't really end up achieving much of anything. It was just too much. I felt burnout, and then it just kind of demotivated me because I felt like I was doing loads, but I wasn't actually achieving anything. It's because my focus was spread so thin, I didn't really make enough of an impact on anything. Changing the way that I plan my goals into 12-week chunks has honestly revolutionized everything for me. I feel like I think more clearly because I've only got one thing that I'm working on. I make strides more progress, and generally I actually just feel happier because I don't know, I've just got less to focus on. Whatever your goals are, and no matter how you plan your goals, make sure that you've got actionable steps in order to achieve those, because those action steps are what you're going to plan into your weeks every single week to ensure that you actually make progress towards them. Each week you want to make sure you have at least one action that will help you move closer to your main goal, and then 2 smaller actions for your 2 mini goals. Now you've got clarity on who you want to be, what your focus is for the next 12 weeks, and what action steps are going to help you get closer to your goals. We need to design how that looks. Before you do this, it's really important for you to consider what type of person you are. Are you somebody who's more productive in the morning, afternoon, or evening? Are you somebody who likes a lot of structure and would prefer something like time blocking? Or are you somebody who needs a lot more flow and flexibility in your routine? It's really important that you work with yourself in this and acknowledge like where your flows are and how you work best as a human. It's okay if you're not the morning person. You don't need to be. Just work within your own natural cycles and rhythms. It's also really important to consider how much time you actually have. If you're like me, you might be totally optimistic about how much you can achieve in a certain amount of time, but planning in too much for the time you have available is just going to result in failure or you not achieving what you plan to achieve. And I don't know about you, but that just doesn't make me feel good. If you find you are a little bit over optimistic and over plan when you do this at first, that's totally fine. Take the learning from it and then schedule in slightly less the week after. The more and more you do this, the more accustomed you'll get to the pace at which you work at and how much you can get done in a realistic amount of time. Regardless of what type of person you are and how you work best, just be realistic and honest with yourself, and then you'll set yourself up for success. Finally, we get to the actual scheduling of tasks part. The first things you want to schedule into your week are your essential tasks or your non-negotiables, the things that you do to keep yourself from getting stressed and overwhelmed. Then you want to schedule in your self-care. It's really important that you have at least one self-care activity in every week. I cannot stress this enough. As they say, you cannot pour from an empty cup, so please make sure that you are refilling yours at least once a week. Then with the time that you have left, make sure you factor in at least one action that's going to get you closer to your main goal, and then maybe 2 smaller actions that will help you achieve your 2 mini smaller goals. Some people find it really helpful to schedule in a midweek check-in just so they can see what progress they've been making. You might find that you actually need to tweak the plan you've made for the week and you've overestimated how much you can get done. Or maybe you've had some curveballs come in and they've completely derailed your plan, and so you might need to adjust what you're doing for the rest of the week. This is where a midweek check-in comes in really, really handy so that you don't lose control of the whole week and kind of take a readjustment period and still make some good progress. And last but not least, planning is wonderful, but it is just one side of the coin. Be sure to plan in a review session at the end of each week to take note on what's gone well this week, what could you have done better, and how can you take that learning in order to improve your next week. It's okay to dial back your initial plan if you've been over-ambitious. It's okay to decide, actually, now I've started doing this thing, it makes more sense to do this thing instead, and to readjust what you're focusing on. Your way of planning that works best will develop the more that you do it, so please don't be harsh on yourself and be compassionate and give yourself time to get adjusted to this. You will get better at knowing whether you're more productive in the morning or the afternoon. I found when I first started doing this, I wasn't really sure where my natural rhythms and cycles are because they've changed a lot after a few years, but the more I've done this, the more I'm starting to get clarity on, actually I seem to be doing things a lot more easily and a lot more in flow at this time of day, whereas at this time of day I seem to prefer doing more self-care activities or working on my non-negotiables. Whatever it is for you, you will get accustomed to it and you will develop that. I hope you find this video valuable and find some of these actions transformative in your weekly planning routine. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you all immensely, and I will see you for another video.